It's Sunday, the 4th of June, and this is your Round 12 review. Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Reeve. Welcome back to the channel, and I am joined for the first time in a little while, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Paul James. How you going, Paul?
I only show up when the Cats win. Flat track bully through and through, and it's good to be back.
Very good, mate. And I've just realised I might need a pop filter because I keep saying Paul and
Paul James.
Paul James, and it's probably sounding horrible coming through my microphone, but that's okay. Hopefully the people out there that aren't too fussy about audio kind of things, I'm sure we all are. But yes, the Cats, we had a win, mate. We're back on the winners list, defeated the Western Bulldogs 97 points to 75 in front of a crowd of 41,000 people. And I actually picked that correctly, by the way, just as a side note. Not 21,000 as I've got in my notes. Thank you, Paul.
I was actually looking at that going, shit, was that actually the number? That's a red letdown.
I've written 21,000 in the notes at Marvel Stadium. So that was a good game. We did need something special in that second half, though. It was a fantastic, I'm sure it was a great game for the neutrals in that first half. High scoring, absolute shootout.
A real spectacle. And we saw another one this afternoon, this evening as well.
We will.
Just wrapped up only 10 minutes ago, and it was amazing.
We will touch on that. That was probably the game of the round. And who would have thought the Bombers North game would have been game of the round? But it was there. But the Cats had to find something in the second half. We did. We brought the fighting spirit. We found something deep down inside and found a way to win the game. I think we're now sitting currently 8th. It's a bit of a tricky period. Figuring out where teams sit at the moment, just because we've entered the bye rounds over the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks. So, but we're thereabouts around that sort of mid range with a few other teams, not going too bad. Do have a week off coming up, and then we're off to face Port Adelaide, which will be a massive test for us in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Initial thoughts, mate, before we sort of dive into the nitty-gritty of the game. Did you watch it on the telly? Did you get to go?
I was watching on the TV, but going into this game, the thing that was kind of firmly entrenched in my head, and it's been weird because I've not really popped up too much on the channel of late. It's really been the Ben Reeve show lately, thanks to some absences from me. But going into the game, it was very much one of those this is the. I didn't want to go so extremes to say make or break for the season, but it was that far away from it. I think we desperately needed to go into the break 6-6 and not 5-7, because we're trying to get players back through the door. We're trying to get the fitness up. And if you're just playing that second half from behind, given how difficult our back half of the fixture is, we needed to make sure we bagged the win last night. So I was really, really stoked. I guess there's probably 2 criticisms that I've had of the boys in recent weeks, and it's been the midfield's just not been able to get it done, and that's not an original thought whatsoever.
No.
But I would also say pressure has been lacking, and everything really clicked into gear. I mean, look, we saw the pressure obviously ratchet up towards the end of the GWS game. Geelong did what Geelong has been known to do over the last decade, where they find themselves in a sticky situation and they will somehow nearly come from the clouds to steal the win. But aside from that moment, it's been lacking for the last few weeks. So it was really, really good to see that. I mean, the Dogs took it up to us the whole time as well. It wasn't like we beat up on an opposition. They had to just grind this one out and going at 100% the entire time. And they did an amazing job. They played a fantastic game. They neutralized the Dogs' biggest strength, which was their midfield. And I think, for me going into the game, it was a case of our forwards can beat their defense. Our defense can beat their forwards, but can our mids break even, essentially? That's all that I felt like we needed to do. They did that. You could maybe make the argument that we even potentially won the midfield contest in the end. There's stats that suggest one thing, but I've got lots of thoughts on the Dogs and their over-possessive behaviours.
That is interesting.
I think at the very least they broke even, and that's what gave us the win.
Yeah, no, I think if you just look at the stats alone, you'd say, "Oh, hang on, we weren't travelling too well. We got -20 in contested possessions, -8 contested marks, and -12 in tackles, and that doesn't look great on paper, but the eye test would say something different. I think, especially as the game wore on, Doggies looked fantastic in the first 2 quarters. We were keeping up with them, and I think thankfully we were kicking relatively straight, and they were missing a few, but they looked fantastic, and we just gradually wore them down, and our pressure lifted as they started to wilt a little bit. It was great to see. You got that feeling, and especially halfway through that, or just start of the last quarter into halfway through, like, here we go. This is Geelong, and it's not the prettiest style of champagne footy that you've ever seen, but it's this ruthless brand of footy. It's just pressure, and the doggies couldn't breathe. They didn't kick a goal in the last quarter, and I think we kicked the last 6 of the game. It was, but yeah, like, just on paper, stats won't say we won the midfield contest, but I think what we did, as you said, I think we at least broke even. And one observation that I had, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, is Team English went crazy all over the ground. It was probably poll Brownlow votes, but there was a bloke on our side, Mark Blitzarves, who probably could have gone with him, but I think we made the decision to just let Blitzarves do his thing. And I was saying to some friends of mine, the chaps who were there as well, that I think that's just a deliberate thing to see which one wins here. You're not going to sacrifice Blitzarves because he just gives us so much around the ground, and just to nullify Team English. But I don't know. What did you notice that sort of? He was just doing what he wanted, Team English, at one point.
Well,
for about 3 quarters at least.
Because he's a really athletic ruckman against John O'Segler, who's absolutely everything but.
Yeah, everything
athletic. But. He's kind of very much your old school plod along ruckman who can, if he gets in the right space, he'll make a contest and pull the mark down more often than not. But he doesn't really, like, he'll get caught going the other way by a ruckman, exactly like Tim English, or if he had to play against a Mark Blitzarves, that sort of player. And I mean, the luxury for Blitzarves was that he didn't have to, like, he could cut English off when English drifted forward, knowing that Segler probably wasn't going to get there.
No chance.
But otherwise, he could, dedicate his time to Bont early in the piece. He could, we could move him around the ground in that role that he's been for the last few years, which is addressing a point of need at the time.
Yeah.
Do I need to go tag this bloke? Do I need to go and, float into defense? Do I need to play ruck? Whatever it happens to be. And he did all of those things last night, especially when Segler eventually went down towards the end. He then went into the ruck and went head to head with Team English, and I would say beat him in that period. I think if those two had gone head to head all night, would have been a very, very different story for Team English. I'm not saying he would have been beaten, but I think a bit like the rest of the contest, probably would have been a 50-50 break-even split between the two. But
I think it was great.
Blitzarves did a fantastic job drifting forward as well. Kicking goals, setting up goals.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. And it was, and I guess doubling back on your point before about the Dogs wilting, I think a little bit was like there was probably this expectation, maybe even from us Cats fans as well, but certainly from Dogs fans and external supporters, that the Cats were just going to run out of steam at some point. Like there's injuries, there's players coming back, so then they're not necessarily match fit yet. There's a lot of young blokes, those sorts of things that again don't necessarily have that match fitness yet. And so okay, they're keeping up for now, but eventually they've got to run out of tickets. And I think it broke the Dogs a little bit when they just kept coming.
Yeah, I remember sitting there at about 10 minutes into the third quarter, and I said to my daughter at the time, I think this is the point that the Dogs might run over the top of us. It just had this feeling about it, like we've done very well up until this point, but it's going to come, and it's going to come in a rush of 3 or 4 goals, and it's going to be very hard. But surprisingly, we held on, and we just kept fighting, and it just lifted. And I think the Dogs were, like, as you said, a little bit shocked, I guess. Maybe there's.
As Ben knocks out, you to chat the whole way through it. It really the momentum completely shifted at that particular point, and it broke him.
Yeah, but it was just great that the boys just did what we needed to do, and somehow, I don't know, just found a way to get it done. And it was one of the, I can't put my finger on how we did it. It's just that everyone, all 22 of them on the field at one time, were firing it. And I think Segler went off at one point. That maybe made a little bit of a difference. I'll pick on the bloke.
It was also, I think actually we'd already kind of broken the back of them a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Segler went off, so
I don't
want to dunk on him too hard.
Not too hard. No. But and it was good to see Sam Simpson come on there at one stage. So that was great. Now, some stats leaders, and we'll talk a little bit about stats, but we had, we went, this is not nothing to do with our votes, but Tom Stewart had 27 touches, 10 marks, and a goal.
First since 2018.
First since 100 consecutive games or thereabouts, something like that, they were saying, so without a goal. So that was probably my highlight of the night. I'm not sure about you. Jeremy Cameron, 21 touches, 7 marks, and a couple of goals. We're not seeing big bags from Jezza lately, but he's doing everything around the ground.
Back to equal leader in the Coleman.
Oh, he's probably just his opponent's probably just absolutely busting a gut trying to chase the guy around. And as you said, equal leader in the Coleman. A bloke who's copping a little bit lately on the socials. Sometimes we're in love with him, sometimes we're not. Tanner Bruhn, 15 disposals, 12 tackles and a goal.
I'm loving what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these bashers. I
don't understand it.
He's a young bloke, so he's obviously
20 years old or
patches of
something.
games where he just can't, get himself into the game or whatever. But you cannot question. And I guess he was really emblematic of the way a lot of the Cats went about it last night. You can't question the way he's been throwing his body at the contest, and he's always there. He's always giving it a crack. As a bloke who's still, he's going to get there, but he's still undersized at the moment.
Exactly. Give him, I remember the first couple of games he played at the start of this year, he was well off it. But he's come so far.
Now he 100% looks like he belongs.
Oh, 100% he does. Brian Myers, mate, we love Brian Myers. I can't describe how much I love Brian Myers at the moment. But he had 20 touches, 5 inside 50s, and a goal. And he's not bad on the golf course with that sand wedge as well. He loves. I'm talking about the little sand wedge kick there inside 50. How good was that?
It's so obvious what he's going to do, and yet defenders just don't click,
mate. I cannot believe how good he's gotten. In just, I had a feeling there'd be a couple of players that would really find something within themselves after realising that they're premiership players, and they would just go to another level. I don't think I had Brian Myers in that group. I thought maybe it'd be a Zach Guthrie, someone like that.
And to be fair, he's had a really great season as well. But without I guess wanting to plug mine/our content too much, but when we had Grind on behind the play early in the year, that was that short kick was the thing that he spent most of his preseason working on. That was his thing that he'd identified was the big deficiency in the fact that he with his unique kicking style that we don't need to talk too much about because everyone else does. He identified that the short kick was the thing that he was finding it hardest to actually land. And no surprise that by working on that and improving his game in that particular area, we're now seeing him, I think he's, I guess we're in the bye rounds now, so I don't know how things start to shift a little bit, but he's 1 or 2 in the goal assists.
I think he's still number 1 right now.
So
yeah.
I know he's number 2 going into the round. He'd had a couple quiet games in that particular respect. And I think that was only because our inaccuracy was a bit problematic. So he was probably still delivering it, but they weren't turning him into goals.
I think so. I think you worry about the delivery rather than the end result.
Exactly.
If he's doing his role, that's, he can't be blamed for a couple of silly misses.
He can't help the accuracy from the teammates. So let alone the 5 inside 50s go along with it. He's on. He's had a great season so far. And I think you said it at one point over the weekend. He should absolutely be at least in the conversation for the All-Australian, to be in the squad.
Yeah. He probably won't get it, but he should be on the periphery at least anyway, I'd say.
Yeah.
I hope they give him a bit of a... I hope they have a chat about his name anyway, because...
Well, I think if he can convert a little bit more, he was 1 goal 9 going into last night. If he can convert those opportunities a little bit more, doesn't need to necessarily increase the scoring rate, but... increase the number of shots on goal, because I don't want him to actually take away from that aspect that he's doing so well with the goal assist. But if his accuracy improves, I think that changed the face of the conversation a little bit more.
Sure. If he kicks 15 goals or 15 and 20 goals, then yeah, definitely he's in that conversation. There's a bloke, Tyson Stengel, who I think he had 10 goals straight to start the year at one point. He's not impacting the scoreboard massively, but he's not missing much. And I said to he was lining up for a set shot, and I said to my daughter, he hasn't missed yet. He's kicked 10 goals straight. Sure enough.
Look what you did.
Sure enough.
The old commentator's curse.
I know. What can you do? Look, the doggies were good. I think they had a lot of stars. We spoke about Tim English, 27 touches, 12 marks, 8 tackles. Oh my god, nearly a triple double there from Timbo. Adam Treloar, I think he got injured towards the end. He came off not looking too
No,
happy
injured right at the very beginning, and so you
at the
saw him go
beginning.
down the race.
Oh,
He
okay.
hurled his mouth guard into the race there, and you thought, oh, that's it, he's done.
Oh, okay.
And it all looked hamstring related, and then he came back before the end of the first quarter in the end.
Okay. That's what I missed it because I was at the game and I didn't see. I just caught the sort of some highlights later on, and I thought, oh, okay, did he go off late or something? But yeah, he had 31 touches, 11 tackles and a goal, so he absolutely smashed it. And Caleb Daniel, 35 touches and a goal as well. So those three. I'm probably missing a couple others, but look, the doggies, as always. I mean, our opposition generally dominates ball use, disposals, don't they? We're lucky to get 25 touches these days from our leading
Yeah, I mean,
disposal
you
winner.
can add like to that list. You had Bailey Dale with 31.
Yep.
Libba had 30. McRae had 29. Smith 24. Bont 23, which is a quiet game by his standards.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are, as I said before, they're a really high possession team, but they just flick it around a lot, and that's the thing that kind of gets them unstuck. In a case like this, when the pressure starts coming the other way, eventually those turnovers come, or because they've been flicking around so much, again, that pressure comes and their delivery into their forward 50 is rubbish.
Yeah.
Turnover, off you go. As soon as you get a few good intercepting defenders, off you go. And a lot should be said. I mean, obviously Tom Stewart had a fantastic game, and we'll get to the votes shortly, but he'll feature there. There's no doubting that one.
He may feature.
But, Sam De Koning drifting back into defence properly again, totally looked at home again. I think it was probably only the first 5 minutes or so of the game where he looked just slightly off, just having to resettle back into defence when, what's his name? Big Goldilocks tall forward. I've just gone blank on his name. Norton.
Norton. Yeah, headband.
Norton got away from him in the first couple of minutes, but otherwise was completely ineffective from that point on.
As the ground announcers call him, the astronaut.
Yeah.
Oh, God, cringeworthy stuff. Can I ask you, there was quite a significant out for us this week. Maybe we wouldn't have said this last year, but Sava Radaglia didn't play. And a bit of talk on Talkback Radio about maybe Geelong's backline looks and functions a little bit better with the unit that went out there on the weekend. Did you have a thought on that? I mean, I kind of don't know what to do. If I was the coach, I wouldn't know what to do here because we don't want to lose the bloke because he offers us so much. But ultimately, it comes down to your structure, doesn't it? And is this the best team that's gonna help us? Not the best individuals.
I haven't heard the talk back stuff, but I agree with the sentiment. Asava's been fantastic all year, but Asava still has that forward DNA in him, and he's more inclined to fly and try and clunk something. And consequently, it doesn't always work. Ball spills out the back. There's been quite a few goals out the back over the course of this year where he has just piled through a contest, knocked everyone over like they're bowling pins, but then the small crumbing forward has just come bursting through because he hasn't held onto the mark or whatever the case happens to be. Or he's spoiled, but he's spoiled it right down and everyone else has hit the ground and that buzzing small forward comes charging through.
Or he's 50 metres away up because his opponent's let him up the ground and he doesn't know where he is and he just hasn't read the game too well.
I agree with all the sentiments early on that his individual game is worthy of being in that conversation again, All Australian. But in terms of the round, the whole team impact, it was so much better to see Sam De Koning there than Asava Radaglia. And I hate saying that because Asava's, this is clearly the best position for him and he has played a genuinely amazing season. But if I was, standing there right now, who do I want to be the full back? I want Sam De Koning. I don't want Asava Radaglia.
Oh, yeah, if you're making me choose, I'm still going with Sam De Koning, even though I don't think he's had a breakout year by any stretch. I think it's...
No, he's been beaten up on so many times.
I think, to be fair...
It's been a rough year for him, but
he
finally got a proper crack at it. Last night, finally back into the key defensive position.
Yeah.
He despite the fact he was being beaten senseless at the beginning of the year, he wasn't giving away bags of goals either against Kerno or against who did play round one, the Pies, Mychek and any of those. He wasn't giving away goals. He was just getting beaten to death by bad luck in the opposition
he was.
there. So if he can not get bashed up a little bit, then
I,
he'll continue to play like he did last night.
I expect this is probably how it'll play out. I think the coaches will bring Radaglia back, and eventually they'll make a tough call if it's just not working. If we start really struggling again, and I mean the other guys have maybe Sam DeConning's probably the newest piece of the puzzle, but the other guys have had 2 or 3 or 4 years together as that back line, and they sort of know what to expect of each other and know where to be and know when to switch, and the communication's there. And Asava's
Sam kicks it better.
not even 11 games into this role. And yeah, I think he's had a fantastic season, especially an 11-game sample, or not even 11 games, as I said. But do you pick him in the biggest game of the year? We're not going to probably make it that far, but do you pick him in something like that? I don't know if I would. I think you just got to go with that horses for courses and find the structure that works best. And unfortunately, that means some really good players miss out.
Now, you're quite doom and gloom about the back end of the season. We've not had a chance to discuss this.
We haven't yet.
Have you put the line through us? With that was a fairly definitive comment.
No. I haven't put the line. I still think we make the finals, and we'll do a mid-season review video, maybe during the bye week. But no, I haven't put the line. I definitely haven't put the line through Geelong. It just makes it incredibly hard, and you go from having a few variables when you finish in the top 4 to having maybe 100 different things that you have to worry about when you finish in the bottom half of the 8. And there's a team in the NBA, the Miami Heat. If anyone follows the NBA, they didn't even make the finals. They won through they have a little wild card system, and they won through that, and now they're in the finals, and potentially could take it out. So who knows?
Sadly, I don't think they will.
But they won't. But anyway,
there's a big bloke called Nikola Jokic that's going to get in the way and cause a lot of problems. But
but anyway, but you're a chance as long as you're there and abouts. You are a chance. So we'll save
the conversation for next week, and people can tune into that. But I am really bullish. And I'll explain my rationale next week.
Let's stay on the positive stuff. Let's stay on the positive. What were some of your highlights from the game? Let's go back and talk about Tom Stewart a little bit, because that's the biggest one for the night. And that'll be on the thumbnail. By the time
he's already got it.
He's already on the thumbnail. I've already had that ready. It's the first thing I did getting ready for the show. The first goal in 4 or 5 years, incredible. I didn't expect it. I don't think he expected it. I often watch the player rather than the goal umpire to get a sense of whether it's a goal or not. And as soon as I saw him starting to run backwards with the arms out, like celebration mode, I'm like, yep. It's a goal. You can tell. It's like, does he have the distance? That was the only thing. And fantastic.
No, slotted it really well. For me, and I spoke about players being emblematic for the Cats and kind of where they're at. I want to hone in on Gary Rowan, actually.
Yeah, please.
That was a typical Gary Rowan game in the sense that statistically it says nothing. Like, okay,
8 touches.
A couple goals, he got 8 touches. Sure, whatever.
Yep.
But that intensity that he brought, that speed, that tackling pressure, his tackle numbers weren't even amazing, because as soon as a player gets the ball and he's in the vicinity, they are so desperate to get rid of that thing, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
His tackle numbers will probably never be all that high, because he puts the fear of God through everyone, and that's it. They're like the ball, but it rushes that possession. It sets a negative tone for the opposition as they're trying to bring it out of defense at that point. I was thrilled with the game he put together, despite the fact that, again, statistically doesn't say a hell of a lot at all, but he was there. He slotted straight back in. In terms of the forward line, it got that dynamic 100% right to go again, in terms of how Hawkins, Cameron, and Rowan all kind of work as a trio, with then the smalls moving in around it. You can add Ollie Henry into that mix, of course, as well now. I think it all worked really, really well. And I think we had a conversation pretty early in the piece this year, like how were things going to go for him with Ollie Henry back in there.
Yes, we did.
Well, those two, played like the same position, very different roles, and it worked really, really well. So, because obviously we've got some Ollie Henry stuff to talk about as well in the positives. So I was thrilled with Gary Rowan's game. There was some amazing chase down stuff in the middle of the ground at a point there in particular. Obviously, running into goal from, getting possession about 80 out, charging into 40 and nailing the goal as well. Like, there was just some really, really great stuff from him that I was thrilled to see him back.
Oh, it's great, wasn't it?
And I didn't give him enough credit going into it. Like,
No, we
we
don't.
had kind of gone, okay, Ollie's here. He doesn't quite have the speed, but in time, that's it. He's going to take the spot. But at the moment, now I'm thinking they can go side by side.
I think as long as he stays fit, I think, and I think that'll be as long as he's fit, he's probably the number one. If you are going to pick one over the other, but the jury's out for me is whether his body can hold up. For another 15 games or whatever.
What was the injury in the end? Wasn't it? It was a hemi.
It was a mild hemi, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But they were really, really conservative. I was surprised they brought him back before the bye. Yeah.
Proved to be a good call.
Yeah, I'm not as sold on Ollie, but what I am sold on is his nerves of steel in fourth quarters from set shots. He's fantastic. I can't believe it. 2 weeks in a row. I think he kicked 2 fourth quarter goals last week, and ultimately we didn't win, but he did it again. Couldn't believe his composure in front of goals. Extraordinary. For a bloke that's known to have the yips a little bit, he'll probably, in next week, he'll probably miss an absolute sitter 10 metres out, but... But I back him. I'm going to be backing him in fourth quarters from now on. I think he's fantastic. So that was a highlight for me.
He's pretty clutch, a bit like his brother actually. Yeah. Thinking of a certain Geelong and Richmond game last year.
Now there's young, but and I will let you talk about this guy because you love him and his vice-like grip. Do you know who I'm referring to?
Yeah, Mitch Nevitt and those really solid hands. He clunked a few good ones last night as well.
He clunked a few opponents in some ferocious tackles in the fourth quarter as well.
Got Bond a couple of times.
Yeah, so a couple of holding the ball decisions there, which I thought was fantastic, and a fair piece of his own Guernsey as well when he kicked a goal. I don't know if you saw the photo of that. That was great. It's all about the jumper.
That to me had been kind of the weakest thing that I'd seen. Like in terms of what he'd displayed for Cats fans so far, I feel like his goal kicking had been perhaps the weakest component up to this point. I'm not convinced on the technique. I think the ball drops a little bit too high. It doesn't seem consistent. There's a bit of wobble. In terms of as the ball's falling towards his boot. Flushed that one last night, and obviously everything else around the ground has been fantastic. Tackling pressure's been good. He's a tall kid. He's going to fill out. I think he's showing all of the right signs, and I can't wait to see more of him over the next few years.
And I'm so happy that the coaches are backing a young bloke, and rather than dropping him, bringing him back, bringing him back. I mean, yeah, I appreciate you can't play all the young kids, and maybe if you're lucky, that you play one of them for most of the year, like we did with Sam de Koning last year. And but I'm glad they've stuck with him and shown him a bit of trust, and he's just learning as he goes. I think he's 9 games in now. Hopefully we can get him. I don't think he'll be there at the end in finals. I think we'll get some players back, and he sadly might have to make way, a bit like Brad Close in 2020, made way for another bloke wearing number 4. Unfortunately, didn't get to play in that grand final or possibly even the prelim. I can't exactly remember, but. There's always a couple of blokes that miss out, unfortunately. So that was a highlight. We talk about the grind Myers kicking.
Well, someone's speaking of people, making room for people. I think we've got to start making room for Jack Bowes. Obviously, he's played a fantastic season so far. Came back through the seconds yesterday. Got 28 disposals. Was certainly the best of the Cats. And I mean, I've already had the conversation on this show. On the YouTube channel early in the year about the VFL team and maybe what it says for the future.
Yep.
But ignoring that side of it, Jack Bowes was sensational, and I think you can lock him in to return for the Port game in 2 weeks now.
Game. Yeah, it's going to be hard to drop him because you're likely to get Danger, Duncan.
So, yes, Scotty has said, what did he say? I think he said Danger, Duncan, and there was someone else, and then you'll add Bowes into that mix as well. So
yeah, look, I think probably Simpson has to go. He's been fantastic since he's come in, but he's not a. You're not picking him over Duncan or Danger. I'm trying to think who else might drop out. I'll have to think about that over the next couple of weeks. We've got a little bit of time to think about it. I guess we'll see how some players pull up. Haven't heard any news about medium-term injuries yet, Paul. I have not.
Yeah,
and I hope we don't.
Nothing seems to have popped up from last night, which is nice.
There's something about Gary Rowan nose injury, a nose, but I don't know what that meant. I don't think he had an injury. I'm not
just had his beak over the ball really well.
Something
and did a great
silly
job.
like that.
I mean, in terms of players that could come out, look, Sam Simpson's always going to be kind of on the edge there.
Yeah.
O'Sheen Mullen hasn't done anything wrong.
No.
But he's one of those ones that, for someone like a Bowes, for example, or a Mitch Duncan does feel like a possibility.
Oh, look, they give the young guys a taste, and hopefully that's enough for them to work harder in the off season, come back better and stronger next year.
I think they're probably the three that are the most in the gun. Yeah, Simpson, Nevitt, and O'Shea Mullen at the moment. And obviously you can, Bree Stanley won't be too far off, and that's probably Segler out the door at that stage.
That's assuming they don't go with the DeConning and.
Well, they might have to actually, because if Segler's done his calf or something like that, then.
Yeah.
Oh, and Holmes is going to be back in the next game too. That was the other one that Scotty mentioned.
That seems a bit early for me. I'm
Dangerfield,
surprised.
Duncan, and Holmes. So
I'm surprised they're saying Holmes back then. I wouldn't be surprised if that was another week or two. But yeah, you'd be shocked if Duncan and Danger's not right to go. But Holmes, we'll see. We'll see if they all come back. And then
that's 3 out and 4 in. So someone's going to, someone that we perhaps don't want to see out of the team might have to fall on the sword at a particular point. It's going to be a fascinating one.
I don't think we'll see Menengola again. But we can cover a lot of this stuff in the review, in the mid-season review sort of stuff. Now, the only low light for me, and I was actually sitting on the couch before the show thinking, I mean, clearly I didn't like the first couple of goals on the boards to the Dogs, but I wouldn't count that as a low light. It's just footy. That's just the ebbs and flows of a game of football. But, Tommy Hawkins in front of goal.
He had one ugly shank when he was trying to snap it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. He totally mucked it up. But, that was probably the only one I could pinpoint, really. I'm sure there was a few others, but... It's the only one that comes to mind. I don't know if there's any.
No, I mean he missed a set shot, but it was one where it was quite a way out, and he allowed for his technique, and it just didn't catch to the same level that normally would. So wasn't too phased by that, and his goal kicking. I mean, while Cameron's kind of slowed down a little bit in recent weeks, Hawkins has obviously ramped it right up. Hawkins is now equal third in the Coleman. With Oscar Allen and Charlie Cameron have caught up to him, but he's kicked 32 goals, 14 for the season.
Sneaky chance for another leading goal kicker at Geelong award. If Cameron gets injured, maybe, or if Hawkins just finds another gear.
We were basically putting a line through that at the beginning of the season because of the fact he was going to be missing games, and he didn't miss any. Started off.
I know. He hasn't missed a game all year.
Talking about retiring him, and then all of a sudden he kicked an obscene number of goals in just a few weeks.
Oh my goodness me! Yeah, I think every year I try and retire Gary Rowan as much as I love the guy.
And no, sorry, actually, I've just checked the stats while we're at it. Guy Myers is back to number one, overtaking Christian Petrarca this week.
There you go.
But Hawk is third. He's kicked 32 goals, 14, and given away 17 other goals as well.
That's why he's an All-Australian forward. Doesn't always kick the most goals, but that's why he's there. Let's get on to the votes, Paul. Now, I think I know who you're going to. Do you want to go 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3? What do you want to do?
Let's go 3, 2, 1 because our 3 and our 2 are exactly the same.
All right, so it sounds like we've both gone for Thomas Stewart. I think for his, and for me, it's been Tom Stewart's had an absolute month of pure footy. It's been fantastic. He's absolutely dominated. He's been pretty much close to, if not the best on ground, 3 out of the last 4 weeks. He's having a bit of a season. Another All-Australian Guernsey coming his way at this point. You'd have to say. I think for me, easily the 3 votes.
Yep. Whereas number 2, we've discussed him already. Guy Myers was he put in a fantastic game there. The goal assists obviously up, got a goal himself, high disposal rate, the sand wedge passes that we were talking about before. He did it all. It was a fantastic game.
Yep. And and this is my feeling is now when Grimes got the ball, and I said this in a tweet, you just have a feeling that he's going to do something good with it.
There's confidence now. Yeah,
and it's like I'm sitting there, Grimes got it. And it's like, yes. You just feel like he's going to hit someone inside 50 or...
Well, even just through the contest, even when he's, maybe it's not a kickable sort of scenario, he's moving around in the contest well. He's shirking tackles, not shrugging them off. He's not, a physical beast or anything like that, but he's wrong stepping people regularly, getting the effective handballs off, finding clear opponents. He's just, everything is so clean. Yeah.
No, you said that. I'm glad you said that. I was just about to say he's very, very clean with the footy these days, and he seems to be probably 10% stronger through his hips and over the ball. There was a moment where it was he was trying to gather it at his toes. I'm thinking he's going to fluff this, and he picked it up clean as a whistle. And then I can't remember who he kicked it to, but that we probably weren't seeing that a lot. It was a bit more panic mode last year, and I think he's got so much confidence in his ability now. And I just have so much confidence every time he's got the ball, and just everyone around me in the crowd, you could just get this The
The
hum
confidence
just goes up.
ball
It's like,
now.
oh,
Yeah.
Brian, here we go. And then he just pulls off a miraculous sideways kick or a little chip over the top. It's great. I love it. Now, our one vote, and we've gone a little bit different here, but I'm quite happy with your one vote. I don't know how you feel about my one vote, but
Glad I've got your approval.
I've gone Mark Blitzarves, and who you've gone
Tanner Bruin.
Tanner Bruin.
And we've discussed them both already. Tanner, just the tackling pressure was immense. Hit the scoreboard himself. 15 disposals on top of it. The disposal count, could have been higher, but when you're busy, nailing those tackles, and you can't have ball in hand at that particular stage. So, and we needed that pressure to be brought against the Dogs, and he brought it. So, that is enough for the one vote for me.
Yeah, Tom Atkins. Those two seem to be. I don't know if they're similar, but they're both averaging like 8 or 9 tackles a game. They're always up there in the tackle count. They're reasonably low possession getters, inside sort of players. Tanner Bruin seems to be getting on the scoreboard a lot more. And tends to have a bit more of a burst of speed out of packs than maybe what what the Axeman does. So I don't know. I think
averaging 6.8 for the year, and Tanner Bruin I can't find,
but they're both for Geelong. They're probably our leading tackle getters in that sort of as of those inside mids. I think you judge the small forwards and talls a bit differently. I mean, if you're an inside mid, you're around the ball a lot more, and in the packs, you're going to be tackling more. If you're an outside player, probably not so much because you're trying to receive. Look, I think I'm happy with Tanner Bruin. I think I'm an hour and a little bit about him or Blitzarves. I just think the work that Blitzarves does around the ground, the goal kicking, the hit outs, the running a bloke off his feet, the marking it. He does it. He does it all, and I think he's not my number one. Brad Close will always be the number one, but I do like me some Mark Blitzarves. I think so. Very happy with him. Now, on to the next game. We won't discuss it in great length, other than to say I'm shit scared. It's Port Adelaide, second place. Port Adelaide, they've won 9 straight. We're playing them in a couple of weeks' time on a Thursday night over at Adelaide Oval. Early thoughts on this one?
The troops are coming back, so it does make me. I mean, yes, I'm a bit like you, not excited about the contest, but at the same time, I feel like we're getting ourselves back into a position where we can have a proper dip at this thing. Yeah. Danger coming in there, like I'd love to see Dangers just come through. I am not going to be the sort that will boo. What's his name? Jason Horne-Francis, but there's nothing I'd enjoy more than seeing a fresh, 100% ready to go Paddy Dangerfield go crashing straight through Jason Horne-Francis to just remind him who's the top dog out here. You can be as physical as you want. You can be this big up and coming superstar, but right now you just get out of Paddy Dangerfield's way, and so he'll bulldoze through a Jason Horne-Francis or a Connor Rosie or a Zach Butters or someone like that, and just remind him nice and early. And
we'll put Butters on his ass. I think Port might get the job done, but I imagine it's not going to be a blowout by any stretch. I think it's going to be very hard for us to go over there and win it, and I'm not going to be surprised if we do get the job done and somehow sneak a win. But I think it'll be a very close game. It'll be a fantastic game of footy to watch, and I won't be watching it live. I think it's a little bit tricky on a Thursday night interstate to get over and watch those type of games, unless you're planning a long weekend. But it might be a bit of a TV game, I think, for me.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. It's a work night, so I'll be
getting ready for school.
I'll be here getting ready for the next day and watching the footy. But I don't know. Like again, we'll discuss it more next week. But the troops are all coming back. Based on even just that cursory little scan before, we're like, okay, there's 3 candidates to come out with 4 obvious, largely obvious, starting 22 players come back in. There's not that many that are now absent. Asava would be, there's obviously the conversations around him. Cam Guthrie, who we'll talk about shortly, is kind of the biggest, most notable absentee there. And Reece Stanley. There's not many. If those 4 come back as they're reported to, there's not a lot that are actually absent at this point. It's now just getting games back into people and getting them fresh and ready to go.
Do you still believe in the bye curse? Is that gone, the bye curse, or is it still in existence?
Oh no, the bye curse is a thing, but we've consistently failed against poorer teams after the bye. The fact that we've got to play against a top team here might just shake them out of any silly lulls that they might have had in the past. So,
yep. Let's hope so.
That's my gut feel at the moment. But yeah, I'm quickly scrolling through the AFL site for our injury list. Jack Bowes is back. Jai Clark would not be a starting 22 if everyone's fit.
No.
Oh, sorry. Toby Conway, we'd love to see him up and running, but he's not a starting 22. Danger will be back. Mitch Duncan apparently back. Max Holmes apparently back, but yeah, I'm less sure about that one.
Yeah.
Cam Guthrie is going to be out long term. Flynn Kroger, no. Sam Menegola, probably not. Asava Radagalia.
Does he make it
50-50. Gary Rowan is already back. Yep. Reece Stanley. So it's Reece Stanley and Cam Guthrie and potentially Max Holmes.
I can't get a read on the Stanley one because 1 minute they're saying there
was an infection or something.
The vision issue's more of a concern, and we're just more worried about his health. And I was like, okay, that means maybe he's not coming back, and now he's back in full training, so I'm not sure what the go is.
Well, I mean, the thing is, thankfully an eye socket's not going to stop you from running around and doing weights, so he can get himself match fit, and then when these other issues subside,
if they do,
just boom, out there. So.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think if we can somehow get Stanley back, and if we can somehow get an in-form Stanley back, I think he'll come back at probably Segler levels in his first couple of games.
Mobile Segler levels.
Yeah, probably mobile Segler levels. And I think we need to be prepared for that. And you just know the socials are just going to be all about, we want Segler back as soon as Stanley comes back in and plays a shocker. Bring back Segler. Short-term memories, but I think we just got to be a bit patient with Stanley. If the intention is that he's our number one and we want to get him back into form, we might just have to put up.
I think he's our number one.
Put up with some less subpar games from him for a little bit. And Cam Guthrie, you touched on him. He's who knows if he's even going to get back or whether we just struck a line through his name this year, and it's going to be hard to bring him back in. He wasn't flying.
That situation's crazy.
Yeah, it's not ideal. And I don't imagine we had the luxury of giving him time to get back into form even when he comes back. So he hasn't been able to run. I don't know what his preseason's going to look like. So
he was on the bikes, and that was the crazy thing about the form. Like he was on the bikes, and like, okay, here we go. Now we're starting to build, and then all of a sudden, 2 days later, no, we've had to operate. Like, all right.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Turf toe.
Yeah, the old turf toe. So it's a big shame for him. I did expect, the reigning equal Carji Groove medalist from last year. It's a bit of a shame that this is his follow-up season, but it happens to players, and it'll happen to someone else. Probably we've got another half a season to go, and I'm guaranteed there'll be someone else.
No more injuries. We've had it all now.
I was just about to say, the boys are probably off on their mid-season breaks now, probably having surfing injuries and falling off quad bikes and getting bitten by drop bears, and there's a whole range of different things that are happening. I'm sure we'll get some news of some random injuries, falling off scooters in Bali. Who knows? It is what it is. Now, we did talk about, before we close out the show, let's just have a quick look around the grounds, mate, because there was a massive game that just played out at Marvel Stadium just about an hour or so ago that concluded. The Bombers, the mighty Essendon Bombers, who I picked to play finals in 2023. And you...
Hang on. You picked them for top 4.
And I brought that down slightly to play finals. And you laughed at me. And you laughed and you laughed and you laughed.
To actually take your side that that they'll finish top 4, they will still, they will not make the 8.
Okay, you're holding. All right, well, we need to check in on this one in a few more weeks' time. I think I'm starting to turn some people to my side on this one now, so on the Bombers, but they do have a very favourable draw. I was saying...
that is something that works.
I was saying to my partner, it would be very typical Essendon if they lost today against North, and we were just watching North just run over the top of them at one point. I'm like, oh, typical Essendon. You're going to lose to North, aren't you? Just as soon as everyone starts talking you up for finals. But they got the job done. They won the game. And
I'm going to back the two interstate teams that, as things stand, sit 9th and 10th in Adelaide and Freo. I'll back one of them to get the job done.
Freo's probably
knock
more.
them out.
You were pretty hot on the Gold Coast. But we'll save a lot of this stuff for next week. So
they're getting there. They're getting there.
We'll cover it. We'll review what are some of our predictions and see whether we're shifting from some of that. Clearly, I'm not shifting on my stance on Essendon, other than maybe dropping them out of my top 4. But who knows?
Tom Doty with an ACL though for Adelaide is not great news for them.
Oh, does that mean it's good news for us though?
Over.
That maybe.
Hey.
Does that mean he might decide a change of scenery to?
Come down to the Cattery.
He's a former Falcon.
Possibly. I mean,
former Falcon.
I'm sure we'll grab someone in the in the postseason that's from up Geelong way. They'll come back.
Yeah, we're going to get Tom De Koning, Darcy Parish, Doty. Another.
I'll talk to you about Tom De Koning off camera.
We haven't got enough Toms. All right. So, any other games you want to touch on? I think there was a DeGoey sort of incident there, which I think that's gone to the MRP for that one.
Already been, I think, taken to the tribunal.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
I think that's already been announced, if I recall.
He's got a date there for sometime this week, early in the week, I'd say. Yeah, I'm just looking through here.
Double check that now.
The Gold Coast Suns had a nice win.
At least 3 matches, so yeah.
Yeah. A minimum of 3, I think they were saying. Gold Coast Suns keep pushing. Adelaide maybe going the other direction. Gold Coast.
Adelaide just can't travel.
No, they can't. Gold Coast are putting together quite a nice month. So whether they can, I think that as soon as people start talking about them as the spotlight coming on them, I think they'll start to struggle a little bit. I don't think they'll be able to handle the spotlight too much. And probably the other game, it was 2 close games today. It was Richmond just got over the line. I think it was destined for a draw up until Marlene Pickett, I think it was, kicked a goal.
Yeah, Marlene Pickett swept through, bounced off Dusty, I can't remember who the other one was, and swept through and gave the goal. So
Richmond somehow keep their season alive, even though it's very much a long shot at this point. I doubt they'll make finals, but they'll have to put something together pretty miraculous, and I just don't see it happening.
Can't rule them out, though.
Can't rule them out. Not yet. Still a little bit early. I think give it another month, see how they're travelling over the next 4 weeks.
And Carlton.
Ooh.
So disappointed that they played like the Carlton of early in last season against us in round 2, because if we played them now, I think we'd decimate them. Even though we're off the boil ourselves.
I remember chatting to Terry Degani from Blue Abroad at the AFL 23 launch, and he was just trying to hold it back, because at that point Blues were flying, and it just looked like it was going to click, and I'm like, it could be your year. And now the pain on his face after every loss, I tune in every now and then to the show to see what's going on. I feel for those guys. It'd be hard.
I'm enjoying listening to SEN though lately.
Yeah.
Old Snapper.
Oh dear.
Is he 3AW? I don't know.
Can't remember. Yeah.
Wherever he's popping up anyway.
But
Snapper's getting good value.
They're not travelling too well, the fans at least anyway. Now, mate, we need a few more subscribers. We really need some help to get Brad Close some sleeves. It is coming into the middle of winter now, so his long sleeves need a repair. So let's help us get a few more subscribers on board if you can. And if you want to be a Patreon, even better. Follow us, I think, for the cost of a cup of coffee. You can follow us on our Patreon site as well. And Paul, you've got your podcast as well, Behind the Play.
Behind the Play, still humming along. It's been a tricky couple of weeks for us in terms of scheduling the next few episodes, but we've still got a few sitting in the can ready to go. And so, make sure to stay tuned this week. We've got M. Chalice, who's a super coach. Well, super coach winner in the past, but also an absolute guru these days as well. And we're discussing the ideas that maybe we'll collaborate more in the future. So,
beautiful. And we haven't had
that'll be kind of cool. But we've also had Katie Sermon recently. Recently come across from Port Adelaide to join the Cats in the AFLW. So she's getting into the preseason now. Thoroughly enjoying that. It's great to see her, and it was awesome to chat to. So make sure to check out Behind the Play, because it's the most recent episode to go to air. That's
right. So there's a whole bunch of other. I think what are we up to? About 25 episodes now, or something like that in the can. Over the last 2 years, so there's quite a big backlog there. If you're on a long drive to work, you get an hour in the car or you do whatever, just chuck one of those episodes on. We've had interviews with, as you mentioned earlier, Brian Myers and who else we got? Shannon Burns. I think we've had 3 AFLW players come on.
Nick Dacos, we've had
Nick Dacos, probably one of your favourite ones.
Coming on.
Yeah.
Ollie Walker Peel's coming up.
Ollie Walker,
which is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So Lots of really, really awesome guests. So please make sure to tune into the show as well.
Yeah, so definitely check that out if you can. That'd be great. Now, thanks for joining me, Paul. It's been good as always.
It's been good to be back.
Thank you for coming back. That'll probably do us for another episode of the Hoop Show. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay Geelong strong and go Cats. See everyone.
See you guys.